Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Power is Now teleconference. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, we will conduct a question-and-answer session, and the instructions will follow at that time. If anyone should require assistance during today's teleconference, please press star then 0 on your touch-tone telephone. And now, your host of the Power is Now, Eric Frazier. Sir, you may begin.
Good morning, and welcome to the Power is Now teleconference. My name is Eric Frazier, and I am your host of the Power is Now teleconference. It's a beautiful day in Southern California and a great day to talk about Freddie Mac and what's happening there. I'm really excited to have on the phone Sharon Bartlett, and she's going to be talking about our subject, Freddie seeking qualified listing brokers, REO Experience Not Required. So hopefully you received the flyer, and you'll have opportunity to ask questions later on in the call. Well, the phrase, the power is now, suggests that we maximize our success in business and life when we act on information and opportunities now. The future is only really a reflection of our past decisions to act now. You know, our decisions in the past have really impacted what's going to happen in the future with our businesses. If you're listening for the first time, please send me an email at eric.frazier@thepowerisnow.com to get on the mailing list so you can receive information about upcoming calls. The Power is Now teleconference is a series of teleconference meetings designed to empower real estate agents to sell more homes, expand their business of buyers and sellers, and to be well informed about changes in lending and government programs, marketing, and business strategies that may affect your clients and your business. So we really appreciate everyone who gets on the call each week to learn more about how they can expand their business and to listen to some of the best in the business, industry experts that bring to us relevant information that we can use in our business. Again, you can reach me by email if you'd like to be added to the mailing list, or you can call me if you have any questions or comments about the teleconference at 1-800-261-1634, extension 741. Let me know what you think about the teleconference and how we can continue to support your business. We really appreciate the feedback and your suggested topics. Well, we've got a great lineup coming up. In fact, in addition to having Sharon Bartlett today, next week, Michael Hellickson is going to be on the teleconference, and he's going to be talking about 31 strategies for generating and converting leads like a madman. And if you know the Mike Hellickson story, you know he is definitely well-positioned to talk to us about how to do tremendous volume both in REO and in short sales. And then after that, the following week, Dennis Geis, who is an absolute bona fide expert here at Wells Fargo, will be talking about FHA and VA. And then we'll end the month with Paul Worth, another expert at Wells Fargo, talking about reverse mortgages for home purchases. You may not know that you can do this, but you can get a reverse mortgage to buy a home and not have a payment. Well, for those of you who were on the call last week, you heard Carla Dennis, and I tell you, it was a wake-up call to the IRS and what they're doing to basically get as much money from us as possible. She talked about strategic tax planning for realtors and brokers. It was a fantastic call. I really encourage you all to go and listen to the recording at blogtalkradio.com/The Power Is Now. You can catch all of our past recordings at blogtalkradio.com/The Power Is Now, or at our Facebook site at thepowerisnow.com. thepowerisnow.com. Well, again, I really appreciate Sharon Bartlett, who is on the call with us today, and Sharon brings a wealth of experience to this industry, and I'm really honored that she found the time this morning to meet with us and to talk with us about Freddie Mac, what's happening at Freddie Mac, and what the opportunities are. Let me share a little bit about Sharon's background. As the Director of Vendor Services, Sharon and her team are responsible for the management and oversight of all vendors supporting the REO disposition process, including real estate brokers, closing and title agents, valuation vendors, general contractors, preservation and maintenance vendors, etc. Although fairly new to this role, Sharon has been with Freddie Mac for 29 years, folks. 29 years. Sharon has a diverse background in mortgage loan servicing and REO. During her tenure at Freddie Mac, Sharon has worked in many areas, including default management, loan administration, loss mitigation, asset outsourcing management, servicer relations, risk management, and supplier services. Sharon, thank you for being on the teleconference today. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you, Eric. I'm glad to be here this afternoon, or I guess I should say morning if they're in California or on the West Coast.
In fact, where are you calling from this morning?
I'm actually in our office in Carrollton. It's a suburb of Dallas.
Okay, fantastic. So, Sharon, you've been with Freddie Mac for 29 years. That's a long time. It's rare that I even see applications coming into Wells Fargo with people being on the job that long. So you started when you were 10 years old. I thought we had child labor laws here.
Yeah, we did, but I actually was a little bit older than 10. They let me in when I was around 15. So, no, all kidding aside, Freddie's been a great place to work. It's been a great career for me, and I've been given lots of opportunities, and I'm very fortunate to have been here 29 years. And there are quite a few people actually in our office that have tenure of 20-plus years. So I know in the outside world it's a little uncommon, but here within our office it's not all that uncommon to have a lot of tenure.
Well, I can understand that. It's a government agency, and government jobs are pretty secure. At least they used to be, right?
Yeah, and actually I think that's we're actually congressionally chartered. We're not actually a government company.
Okay.
And some things did change a little bit under conservatorship, but we are actually congressionally chartered and are not considered a government entity.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. So it's like a quasi-government entity.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understand. Well, Sharon, part of being on this show is about really encouraging people to act now. You know, the power is now. What does the power is now mean to you in the context of what you do every day as a director of vendor services?
So I think that's a great question. And when I first started thinking about how I would answer that, and I'm a thinker, so I did give it a lot of thought. One thing that kept coming up to me is a saying that my grandmother always said, and that's "Don't let the grass grow under your feet." And I'm sure that phrase is familiar to a lot of people. And really, I think in a nutshell, that's just now that you know what you know, act the right way, basically, and take action on your knowledge. And I hear a lot of people talk about how knowledge is power, and but I have a little bit of a different philosophy in that, and I think that the power in having knowledge is sharing that knowledge, not hoarding it. So I was very excited when you asked me to speak because, to me, the power is now is a very powerful statement, and it's something that I could connect to very easily.
Well, that's a great response to what the power is now means, and we try to ask all of our guests to really share, what their view is. And I agree, knowledge is power. But power is useless unless you turn it on, right? You have to act on it. And
Exactly.
That's what we are trying to do every week is encourage people to act on what they know and perhaps to share some information that they may not be aware of in regard to opportunities in default services and in real estate in general. Well, before we get into the details of our topics, I would like to know just a little bit more about your span of responsibility. You are the director of vendor services, and as your bio states, you're responsible for management and oversight of all vendors supporting the REO disposition process. How many people is that in general are you managing day to day and handling all these challenges that you're facing?
Okay. Yeah. So my area is broken down basically in the supplier world into two pieces. One would be the listing broker network, and I have a manager that's responsible for a team of 10, and that team in turn is responsible for sourcing, which is looking when we have a business need, and then monitoring and training a network of almost 2,500 listing brokers. And then on the other side, the vendor side, that would be the title companies, closing agents, repair contractors, preservation and maintenance companies. I have a manager over a team of 6 that has responsibility for the RFP process that we go through when we're onboarding and looking for additional vendors to provide those services. And we have about 300 of those type of companies that we are responsible for monitoring performance of. So a fairly large network.
It certainly sounds like it. And in fact, speaking of network, so let's dive right into, our first bullet here.
Okay.
What is Freddie Mac's strategy, when it comes to REO? And perhaps we can rephrase it. What is the mission, actually, when it comes to homeownership? And then you can slide into the strategy when it comes to REO.
Okay. So as I mentioned, Freddie Mac is a congressionally chartered company, and our mission is to provide liquidity, stability, and affordability to the housing market. And so we pride ourselves in making home possible for millions of American families, and we're working with the administration and the industry to support the efforts of the housing market. Last year, Freddie Mac supported the financing of 1.8 million single-family homes and 350 units of multifamily properties. So those would be properties that are greater than 4 units. And we also assisted a little over 275 borrowers in avoiding a foreclosure action. Right now we're looking at about 3.6% a rate of seriously delinquent loans. So those are loans that are greater than 90 days. And so we're continually working with those borrowers to help them avoid the foreclosure process and exit gracefully if needed from their properties. So our strategy when it comes to REO is very much in line with our corporate strategy. And so our mission is, to foster home ownership and to assist in neighborhood stabilization. And so our main REO sales strategy is to sell our properties at competitive prices using, the traditional real estate channels. So that's, the realtors that are out there. And to market to buyers who want to live in them as owner-occupants. So approximately 2/3 of the properties that we sell are actually to owner-occupants.
Wow, 2/3.
Yeah, so we have pretty, and I think our First Look program has really helped us with that, but I would say it's not just all about First Look. One of the other things I wanted to talk about in relation to our strategy with REO is it's very important to us that we're a good neighbor, not just, to the next door neighbors of our REO properties, but to the communities in which the properties are in. And so, we do several things to kind of keep an eye on our properties, and we have set very high standards for our entire network, whether you're a listing broker or another supplier, as far as the condition. For instance, we require that upon 3 days of vacancy that all properties are trashed out and cleaned. So, we don't want to stand out as one of the other REOs on the street.
Right. Well, that's interesting. I know that Freddie Mac you guys are on top of things, and I'm impressed by the number of owner-occupants, 2/3. It doesn't feel that way in the marketplace. It seems like there's a lot of cash transactions taking place in investor business, but Freddie Mac has made a concerted effort to try to put owner-occupants into properties.
Exactly.
So perhaps, too, one of the reasons why we're not feeling that we're seeing a lot of investor activity is because there's simply not a whole lot of REO inventory. Is that because of the increase in short sales? And, what is the strategy around that to reduce foreclosures through short sales, Freddie Mac's, strategy?
Right. So, we have actually several strategies to help distressed homeowners. I would say that, the Home Affordable Modification Program, or HAMP as it's commonly referred to, that gives our servicers a broad opportunity to approve different types of workouts, whether it be a forbearance, a repayment, loss a loan modification, short sale, whatever type. And as I said, last year we helped 275,000. So we are helping avoid the foreclosure for many of the borrowers that that we are a part of the loan for. We're also engaged in a servicing alignment initiative with Fannie Mae, and there's been some information about this out recently in different publications, but we have received a directive from our regulator, FHFA, the Federal Housing and Finance Agency, and we expect the initiative will streamline the workout process for servicers and make it more consistent and more transparent to homeowners that are in distress.
Well, that's great. So is this the first time there'll be this kind of cooperation with Fannie Mae, or do you always have something working in conjunction with Fannie Mae?
So I would say yes, this is probably the first initiative to this extent. In the past, there have been various programs where we have worked somewhat with Fannie, but I think being in conservatorship and being having the same regulator has actually enhanced some of that and actually given us the ability to be able to do this. So we are very much looking forward to it. We have teams in our home office in Virginia that are working very closely with their counterparts at Fannie.
Well, that's fantastic, and will we hear more about this? Greater cooperation between Fannie and Freddie Mac, because the other thing is that both Fannie and Freddie are under conservatorship, and maybe you can share with us a little bit about the status of that.
Okay, yeah, we are still in conservatorship. Actually, FHFA is our regulator, as I mentioned, and we've been in conservatorship since September of 2008. So, and the step was, they put us in conservatorship for a couple of different reasons, but primarily it was to restore the confidence in our company and to enhance our capacity to be able to fulfill our mission, and then also to mitigate, the risk that's contributed directly to the instability of the housing market that was and is, I guess, still being dealt with. So, there has been, talk. Obviously, a white paper was released earlier this year, and at this point, we're kind of just waiting by. The decision will be made by Congress, and it's still being debated by Congress. But so while they're going through that, Freddie will continue to pursue our mission and to support, the recovery of our housing market.
Well, what are some of the changes that have impacted Freddie Mac with the conservatorship, and doesn't some of the proposals in that white paper kind of underscore at least the need for change?
Right. So, as far as changes that have taken place, I would say, over the past year, probably one of the largest changes is in the tightening of our underwriting standards.
Okay.
And also, it's changed pricing to better match the risk that we're taking, and to be responsible stewards for the taxpayers' resources. So, as far as the REO, there really have not been a lot of changes under the conservatorship. We have pretty much been, business as usual here, but, from a corporate perspective, obviously there's some additional oversight and regulation.
Right. Well, given the content of the white paper, and our show won't, this show won't give us time to get into those details. What do you expect? What do you expect? What do you think is going to happen, and when do you think, if ever, Freddie Mac will be released from conservatorship?
So, those are great questions. So the first one, I'm really not sure what's going to happen. I don't think anybody really knows. There's still a lot of debate to go on in Congress before that is decided. And, as far as a time frame, we haven't been given any indication of what that time will be. I know that, there were some dates mentioned in the white paper, but, we have not been told by our regulator, what that looks like at this point, because they haven't been given direction from Congress yet.
Okay.
So we're just I guess we're waiting and seeing. That's probably the best way to put that.
All right. Now, for those of you who are on Blog Talk Radio, if you would like to ask a question, just press 1, and then Erica, our screener, will come on the line and get your name, the city and state you're calling from, so we can identify you properly. So start thinking of your questions as as Sharon and I go through these talking points. Sharon, you're doing great so far.
All right, thank you. You are too, Eric.
Thank you. So let's talk about interaction with the real estate communities. One of the reasons why NAREP and AREA and NAREP all exist is because minorities want to participate. They want to not only participate in the dream of the American dream of home ownership, but they also want to participate in the business opportunities with REOs and short sales, and they're looking to help their own individual constituencies and the collective minority group of all the associations to get their fair share of the opportunities there. How do you prefer to work with minority and mainstream real estate associations?
Okay. So, Freddie Mac and Homesteps are continually looking for ways that we can partner with the various minority, national, state, and local associations. There are a lot of organizations out there, and I'm sure if you've been to any of the real estate conferences recently, you've seen various Freddie Mac employees either leading or actively participating in sessions. So I guess I would say that we like to work hands-on with the association. We want to share information with them, give them the opportunities for the business, and so yeah, I guess the short answer is we like the hands-on approach and the partnership that we enjoy with each of the organizations.
Well, are there any set-asides for minority brokers and women, especially with the establishment of the new office for women and minority-owned businesses?
Right. So Freddie Mac does have a supplier diversity program, and it's designed to increase the awareness of the capabilities and talents, and then also the importance of working with minority and women-owned businesses, because we understand that is, that's an important piece to Freddie Mac's success. And our supplier diversity is a way of assuring that our suppliers reflect the diversity of the American workforce. So our objective is to ensure that both minority and women-owned businesses receive an opportunity to compete fairly in all of our business transactions, not just REO, but from a corporate perspective. So while we don't have a set-aside specifically for minorities, we do strive to identify qualified women and minority-owned businesses to fill our needs when it comes to our REO vendors and suppliers. And I wished I had thought to pull the numbers as far as what the number of dollars that we pay to minority companies, but I will tell you it's very high, and you'd probably be very surprised at that number. We have our network. Both the listing broker network and our other supplier networks are very strong with both minority and women-owned businesses.
Well, perhaps we can share that information on another call because I don't think time is going to allow us to handle all the questions that are coming in. That would be great information to know.
Okay.
So this is truly where the tire meets the road here. How does one become a Homesteps listing agent?
Okay, that's so believe it or not, I get asked that question quite frequently. One of the things that Freddie Mac does a little bit differently than some other corporate sellers is that our relationship is actually established with the owner or the broker of the company. It's not with individual real estate agents. So if you're an individual agent, you should contact your broker or owner to discuss opportunities and determine whether or not your company is already approved or not. And then if not, it would actually need to be the broker owner that we would actually enter into an agreement with. But one of the other things that sets us apart from other corporate sellers is that our policy actually requires that we have a business need add new listing brokers to our network. So just because, we meet someone that we feel is very qualified, or, we receive information from someone, or we have a friend, none of that really comes into play. What is the driving force around that is the business need, and a business need is created a multitude of ways, but in order for us to add someone to the network, we have to have business to give to them. So, and we think this works well for both Freddie Mac and the listing broker, because for one, it limits the number of listing brokers that we manage, and it also allows the broker to know that for that time and the effort and the expense that they're going to go through, that they'll actually receive business from us. So I'd also share that we have very little turnover amongst our listing brokers, and we're very selective in who we bring on. So I guess those of you that have talked to me in the past this won't come as a surprise to you, but I always recommend patience. Yeah. So.
Well, patience is a virtue.
It is.
I'm not sure if virtue or being virtuous is one of the prerequisites of being a real estate professional.
Well, it's not. But I can share with you what our requirements are if you.
Yeah, let's do that. And okay. Before you get into the requirements, though, so you talk about business needs. Isn't this new office creating a business need? Or you're saying that based on the goal of this new office of women and minority-owned businesses, that you guys are already there in terms of the makeup of women and minorities who participate as listing brokers for Freddie Mac?
So I'm reluctant to say that we're already there. Although we're very proud of our numbers as far as the relationships that we have with minority and women-owned businesses, and that didn't change because of the creation of any type of office. That has been our philosophy as far back as I can remember. But I always feel like even though you're good at what you do, there's always room for improvement, I guess. And so, we will continue to look for opportunities. But as far as the business need is primarily driven by volume.
Right.
And so, until our volumes pick up in some areas, we won't have a business need unless somebody drops the ball and we have to remove them from the network. So those are the two main things that would drive a business need. It would be additional volume in a market where we don't have, our network can't take on additional capacity, because of course we're always going to look to our current business partners to see can they handle more before we bring in someone new. Sure. If they're at their capacity, then we'll look outside and enhance the network by bringing in new suppliers.
So talk about capacity. What does that look like for a typical broker in Freddie Mac right now?
So that really varies, and I'm not trying to evade the question, but it really depends on the setup of your company. We have some listing brokers that have a very small capacity. When we first bring someone on, we start off with assignment of up to 5 assets. So they'll sit at 5 assets while they go through our required training and while they become accustomed to our processes. Although I believe corporate sellers have many processes that are similar, we all have a little nuances that make us different, and our systems are not always the same. So we have Homesteps Connect, our system, and everything is run through the system. Assignments come through the system. Offers are input into the system, so everyone uses Freddie Mac's network. I would say, we have listing brokers that have 1 or 2 properties, and then we have a couple that are over 200. I would say for the most part, most of our listing brokers, the volume or the number of listing brokers volume-wise have less than 50 properties.
I see. Well, I love the range there, from 1 or 2 to a couple hundred. And I know that there's some listeners on the call right now saying, well, cut me in on that guy with a couple hundred.
Yeah, and typically those are companies that have multiple offices, have been on our network for many years, understand our processes. So, I mean, it's not like you go from 5 to even 50 overnight. That's a lengthy month after month process, and it's actually a process that we grow together. So, although we ask our listing brokers their input, but we're also looking at their performance and checking to see, do we really think that they can handle more? We certainly don't want to set anyone up to fail.
Right.
And so, we're cautious when we allow someone to grow the network or grow their capacity with us to ensure that, we're contributing to their success, not their failure in doing so.
Well, it sounds like to become a Freddie Mac listing broker, you have achieved the pinnacle, perhaps, as a default specialist, because, number one, the opportunity seems like it's significant. I don't know of an asset management company that has that capability of giving, one office as much as 200 assets, depending on their capability, their experience, how long they've been with you, all
Right.
that stuff. So that's really incredible. I think one of the things, though, that might be a little discouraging to many agents on the phone is the fact that you can't get an individual account like with some other organizations. As an agent, they can go out and get their own, listing broker account with an asset management company. You only deal with the principals, the owners, the broker owner of the operation.
So, yes. So our relationship, our contract is with the broker and or owner of the company. However, the broker owner of the company is who decides whom within their office gets the business. Sometimes It's that person, but more often than not, our REO contact is an agent within the office. So although multiple agents couldn't have multiple accounts within the office, there are many companies that have multiple agents within the organization that handle Freddie Mac properties. So, it would depend on where their office is and how the broker owner wants to set up the organization.
Well, I've heard some stories, unfortunately, where agents, when they leave and perhaps they have established a relationship with Freddie Mac and have been doing a lot of transactions, but then they leave to work for a different broker, well, that account remains with that broker because they are absolutely in control.
That is correct.
Yeah.
If the agent leaves, the business stays with the broker owner.
Right.
And but now bear in mind when that happens, we are looking at the performance of that broker and are having discussions early on around who will be taking over the business.
I see.
So, if they bring in someone that doesn't have the same level of expertise or doesn't have adequate staff to cover it, then those listings don't stay.
I see.
So it's kind of a case-by-case basis, but you are correct in the statement that the business does stay with the broker owner.
Now, let's talk about the requirements, because obviously you just like the volume of a broker having 1 or 2 assets to 200, you're able to take someone with no experience to someone who's extremely experienced. So give us the details of the requirements to work with Freddie Mac.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that. So from a general requirements perspective, obviously they have to have a real estate broker's license. That's pretty much a given anywhere. We require a minimum of $500,000 errors and omissions insurance coverage, and an active member in good standing with the MLS board, and that has to be the board for the area in which we will be giving properties in. We run into problems with that quite frequently. And then also the financial capacity to be able to support the ongoing business. As probably everyone on the phone knows, being in the REO business is not an inexpensive undertaking. And so, we estimate on average for every property that we assign you, you need to have the ability to outlay about $2,000. So, the initial 5 properties, right there you're looking at $10,000 to cover expenses. Now, the expenses don't include our cash for keys. Our cash for keys are actually paid through our attorneys. The real estate brokers don't have to do an outlay of expenses for that, but our reimbursement process is very quick, but still you have to have the ability to float and cover these expenses and wait to be reimbursed. I'd also recommend, although these are not requirements, I would say it's beneficial, but to have, past and current experience with corporate sellers. And as, as our header for the flyer says, we don't require that the agents have or the listing brokers have REO experience anymore. And one of the reasons that we have been able to discontinue that, because it had, quite frankly, been somewhat of a requirement in the past, and that's due to the training program that we rolled out earlier this year. So we, with REO Training Solutions, created training modules that listing brokers are required to take and complete within their first 120 days of joining our network. So we also required that our existing network go back and take those classes as well. And to date, we have, I think we're at about 86% have successfully completed. So they have to take it and pass with a score of 80 or more.
So if they don't pass the training, then they're not moving on to the next level of getting assignments. They have
exactly.
Do they get another opportunity, though, to retake the training, or are they out?
Yes. Well, they don't actually have to retake the training. They would have to retake the test.
I see. So how long is the training?
That's a great question, because the training is quite lengthy. There are 3 different modules that are taken. In total, you're looking at about 18 hours of training, so it's quite extensive. But it's very good training, I will tell you. And I think you'll find this interesting, too. Not only are we requiring that our listing brokers take it, but everyone here within Homesteps is also required to complete the course.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So everyone's on the same page then as to what
Exactly.
your requirements are. Yeah.
Right. And the other benefit we thought we would get out of that, although each team was very active in creating the training, it also gave us another ability to go back and ensure that we're training to what the process really looks like. So it's a very robust training.
So that's why you don't require experience. You actually train the brokers to handle your business.
Exactly.
So then how do I set myself apart from the thousands of brokers that want an account in an area where there is a business need? And before you answer that question, I want to go back, because you've mentioned several times about there being a business need. Where is right now the business need for Freddie Mac?
Okay. So business need-wide, we have. So that's always really hard to answer, Eric, and I'm sorry I'm stumbling with that, because I'm sitting here looking at a list of areas that we need to source in, but I almost feel like I need to preface this with, although we're actively looking in these areas, every day our needs change. They change on a daily basis. We don't necessarily know what's going to roll into foreclosure until it gets here. And so today, we're looking in Chicago. We have a need in Chicago, in Birmingham, Alabama, in Hawaii. I don't know if we have anyone on the call from Hawaii, but Hawaii County, Hawaii. Mm-hmm. In Iowa, in Dubuque, and also Lake City and Earlville. We need assistance in Northeast Oklahoma. And those are the primary areas that we're sourcing for listing brokers in right now. As I said, though, that changes on an almost daily basis. So I know a lot of your listeners are probably in California and would have loved to have heard that California is on the list. There is a potential in California that will be coming up shortly, and we'll be getting additional information out about that. But at this point, we're not actively looking in California. California is our number one market right now for REO. We had the majority of the properties that we have are in California. It had been in Florida, and California overtook Florida last month, so go California. But
what about Texas, Massachusetts? We have some callers on the line from those areas.
Right. And, in Texas, our needs are pretty much met, although I will say that we're starting to see more properties in rural areas, and that's across the country. So we find more often than not that in the areas like for Texas, for instance, it's not necessarily in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area that we're looking, or in Houston. We're looking for, someone like, I'm trying to think, like in Princeton or Melissa. Those are north of the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. They're far enough out that, it's a bit of a drive, which is probably another good point for me to bring up. And that is, although our capacities kind of vary as far as, the company's ability to handle the business, we also have established benchmarks, if you will, as far as a radius in which we allow our brokers to go. So that would be what their market area looks like.
Okay.
And in metro areas, so we'll just take Los Angeles, for instance, or Dallas-Fort Worth, we try to keep our listing brokers to a 5 to 10 mile radius. And then for suburban, more rural areas, we extend that to 30 to 40 miles. However, if you're in a state like Alaska or Montana or South Dakota, if you're willing to travel, we'll negotiate with you on how far we'll let your market area be. So, it kind of depends on where the property is at. But we do, especially in metro areas, want to try to keep our listing brokers close to the properties. We feel that there's more of a connection to the community there. They are a little bit more familiar with, the values of the properties. We find that our BPOs come in much better if they're closer to their offices. And it also comes in handy when it's time for those weekly property inspections that we require.
Sure. So weekly property inspections. Exactly.
Every week we expect our properties to be inspected. And we inspect what we expect. We also have a company, actually we have 3 companies, that go out on a monthly basis and conduct property inspections for our properties and then report back to us on how our listing brokers are doing.
Well, every good manager always inspects what they expect. So I can appreciate that. That is a wake-up call, though, probably for some who are not currently doing business with you, because clearly if you were to drop 5, 10, 20, 100 assets on them, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Wow. So what about these brokers that are, there's some brokers that have been really successful. They've made a lot of money. They have multiple branches, perhaps in California, let's say California. Now we're hearing about needs in other states. And you have needs. Those needs have not been met, so I assume that they continue to be in need. Are you opposed to a broker expanding his business and opening up a branch, say in Massachusetts or Hawaii? You have a need in Hawaii right now. That would be a great location, right?
No, I want that one.
So could someone open up a branch office in Hawaii? And for the sake of cost, they would have, representatives there, agents there, but perhaps most of the work and it's being done in their main office here in California or Texas or where it might be.
So, I would say that depends on the circumstances.
Okay.
That's not necessarily a yes, we would allow it, or no, we wouldn't. It would definitely depend on the circumstances because, it goes back to, our commitment to being a good neighbor and our wanting to support the communities. And I think it might be difficult for, say, someone in Dallas to manage a property in Hawaii. Now,
Sure.
They may have an agent in Hawaii, but ultimately the listing broker or the owner is who's on the hook for the business.
Sure.
And so, I guess if he had someone he really trusted, it might work.
Right.
But we have a couple of situations that are like that. But
really?
I think we only have like 2. There might be 3, but yeah. So that's not not really something that we actively look at.
I see.
But I would say, we certainly could consider it if it made sense.
Well, as inventory has decreased in many market areas, agents who are, all in as far as being REO brokers and listing brokers, they're probably willing to make the investment to expand their business, kind of like a franchisee, and expand in other areas and hire people in that community, which, creates jobs and supports that community because a new business is coming there. And if they have the experience, the reserves, the financials to qualify for that, to me it seems like that would be a great move if this is something you guys allow. So I'm really actually surprised to hear that you actually have that situation with a few brokers now.
We do. And actually it came as a result of people that were in a market and actually moved to another market and started a second company or second office.
I see.
And so we had an existing relationship with them for a very long time. They did a good job, and they had commuted to this other area due to second home type situations or family, and we're familiar with that market. So,
right.
As long as there's some familiarity with the market
right.
and knowledge about the community, it would definitely be something that can be considered.
Well, that's great. So another strategy out there for a successful REO broker. Now let's talk about California, though, because I'd say most of the listeners on this call are in California, but we have callers from all over the nation listening today. What can we do? What can an agent do to get your attention? I mean, there's no need here, but as you stated, things always come up. And when something comes up, how does, Eric Frazier, not an REO broker, but how does Eric Frazier come to the top of mind?
Right. How do you stand out?
Yeah.
I think it kind of goes back to your participation in the activity within your community. So, people stand out to me. I meet hundreds of people at every conference I go to. And, some I see over and over again. And I always enjoy hearing about the types of things that they're doing within their communities, whether it be, coordinating a community open house or training that they're providing to home buyers in their communities, or even agents that mentor other agents that are newly, coming into the REO business. Those types of things, and then also providing market data to us. I think that's always helpful. We have regional area managers that are out across the country, but we only have a handful of those. We've got 9, I think, at this point, so, a big handful. But, we can't be everywhere at every time. So, I would say, being active in your community and partnering with others and sharing your knowledge and information.
Well, that's great. So those are, again, some additional strategies. And that's what we're looking for on this call is what are some of the strategies we can employ to position ourselves to get business and to participate in the wonderful opportunities there at Freddie Mac. And you just mentioned some very important ones. Their engagement in the community, training and mentoring other agents, going to the conferences, because that's one place where they can meet you face-to-face. In fact, that's how we met, right?
Exactly.
It was at 5-Star.
Right.
So those are some great suggestions. So let's talk about designations.
Can I add one more thing, Eric?
Sure.
I would say education, too. I should have said that before, because I think that's important. And education, whether you're getting it through mentoring or whether you're, attending the conference. We have a session. Actually, we have 2 sessions coming up later this month. And this is the first time for us to partner as an REO team with our short sale team. And so we actually are piloting later this month in Las Vegas, and then we're coming to LA actually on the 24th of May. And we're actually bringing a free 3-hour session to the real estate community. The first half we're going to be sharing information on short sales. So these are kind of what our requirements are, what expectations are. How can you help a homeowner in this situation? How can you help a buyer in this situation? And then another hour-and-a-half session on the REO piece. So how can you write a good offer? What is Freddie Mac looking for? Do I present all offers? We're really looking forward to this. I would say, things like that are very beneficial and kind of, help you stand out above and beyond others in the industry. Because there's a lot of people out there hungry for the business.
Now, are you tracking the participation of agents in these training seminars you put on?
Actually, we are.
Wow.
The program that we're doing in Las Vegas, we've actually partnered with the National Association of Realtors. And they are actually coordinating on that one, the registration. And for Los Angeles, we're working with the California Association of Realtors. We have some other partnerships that we're working on for later in the year. We want to get these first two under our belt to see how they come out. But we will definitely be tracking the attendees. And I'll tell you, every conference I go to, every business card that is handed to me comes back and is logged in our database. And that becomes an excellent source when we're looking to add people to our network. So no, definitely, people that attend these sessions and gain a better understanding of Freddie Mac and what we're all about and how we want to help in the communities will definitely be on that list of potential prospects going forward. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to, again, share information. It's at no cost to the participant, and it's a great way for people to kind of, get a little one-up on the next person that's not there. So hopefully I'm not sending a rush of people to try to get information about this, but there is still room in all of the sessions at this point in time.
Well, I'm happy to report as president of the Orange County Association of Real Estate Brokers, this is the chapter of NAREB, that we're having Pam come out and do a training session in July for real estate professionals, Freddie. So that's another opportunity
exactly
for agents to, get the knowledge they need and also get in the, get the attention. At least get on the list, at least be recognized or acknowledged that they're there and they're willing to do whatever it takes to have an opportunity to sell Freddie Mac listings.
That's great.
You said you have 9 regional managers, and what is their role in the communities in which they are presently located?
So the regional manager is out there kind of to be eyes and ears, like feet on the ground for us.
Okay.
They coordinate meetings within various. Actually, the region that they handle is they have many states that each are responsible for, but they're responsible for coordinating regional meetings for our listing brokers. They do property inspections for us. They assist with training listing brokers whenever necessary. They also send, on occasion, recommendations to my supplier team. If they meet someone that they feel would be a good fit for our network, and they know that based on upcoming volumes that we may have a need in that area. So they're also a source for our team as far as adding to the network. But I'll add to that they do not play a part in the decision around who is added to the network. That is completely decided by the supplier services team.
And who leads that team?
The supplier services team is now led by Patty Donovan. Patty's the manager over the group that handles the listing broker network. Patty's new to our organization. Her name might be familiar to some of you out there, but Patty has been in the industry for many years, and she joined us a little over a month ago.
Okay, so now where do you fit in that chain of command?
So Patty actually reports to me. So Tish Ledbetter on the vendor side and Patty both report in to me.
I love that.
You what?
So we're dealing with the boss here right now.
kind of, but I will say I don't direct my team
Sure.
in hiring.
Okay.
I do when I meet someone and am impressed. And, when you meet someone at a conference and then you keep running into them and you talk a little bit about what's going on in their market, you get a pretty good feel for those that you feel would be a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I come back, I do share that information with the team, but I don't direct who's added to the network. I don't want to influence it in that aspect. It's an interview process, and typically we interview at least 3 people for every one person that's added. So we're trying to get the best of the best and those that fit our specific need for that market.
Well, certainly when you come back on, we want to have Patty on the phone with you to introduce her to the Powers Now audience and let her know what great agents that are out there waiting for her to meet them.
Right. And Patty will be out and about at conferences coming up, too. So.
Well, fantastic. Now, let's get back to how I differentiate myself. You have already laid out a number of fantastic strategies. I am so glad this call is being recorded because I know I'm terrible at taking notes, and I'm sure many of my real estate professionals are dealing probably with a similar issue. So what about designations? Is that another area, having multiple designations? Does that get your attention? Does that move me up the list?
Right. So, there are a lot of designations out there, and we probably need a centralized database to keep track of all of them and actually what they mean. But so that one's always a tough question to answer because there's so many of them, and they all have their own benefits. So typically when I'm asked, I just encourage real estate professionals to do a little research and select those that best fit their business plan. Don't try to determine or come up specifically with what the corporate seller might want unless they have specific designations that they require. But for our listing brokers, I mentioned the training through REO Training Solutions, and once they complete that, they do receive a certification. So obviously, we do require the AREO certification for our listing brokers once they're on the network. But to get on the network, we don't have anything that's required as far as a designation or an endorsement, to get an interview. It's just not required.
Now, are there any particular designations, though, that, as a decision maker, that you're familiar with? I was in a conversation with J.K. Huey with PAS here at Wells Fargo, and she, too, feels that education is extremely important, and she looks at that. But she didn't necessarily say what particular designation, but she is very familiar with the designations, and she knows which ones carry weight and which ones do not. What's your position on that? Do you know the designations out there that you consider to be, substantive, credible designations and those that are not?
So, I am familiar with some of them, Eric, but really from an REO perspective, it's not a requirement. We just don't go there.
Just don't go there.
We don't go there.
All right. Well, one more question, and then we're going to open up the lines. There's a ton of questions that people have, and so I promise we'll get to you. We're going to definitely go for another half hour. For those of you who are planning for this call to last for about an hour, and typically it goes from 10:30 to 11:30, but we have Sharon Bartlett on the line, and so what would you expect us to do? But to extend the time. So last question in regard to, becoming a listing broker, languages, particularly Orange County, Los Angeles. We're such a diverse community, a melting pot of diversity. Speaking multiple languages, Spanish, Chinese, Korean, will that get your attention?
So, again, that would not be a requirement necessarily, but I would say it would, yes, definitely be a benefit because it fits in, again, with our good neighbor philosophy and being a part of the community in which our properties are located in. So, I would say definitely it would be a benefit. And it's not necessary that, the listing broker owner have that. If a person that's working on the account does, then that would, definitely be beneficial. And it's actually a question that we ask during our interview process. What languages are spoken in your office? Or I think the question is really what languages are spoken fluently within your office. But so, would it move you up on the list? It could in some circumstances. It will depend on our specific need at that point in time. If we're looking for someone to handle properties that are in a primarily, Asian market, and you speak, you speak Spanish, well, that's not really going to help me in that market. So
Sure.
It's got to be applicable to the need that we see within that community.
Okay. Well, operator, let's give instructions for our callers on the 866-259-1024 number. For those of you who have called in on that line, that's our backup line. We've had more callers than we probably expected on Blog Talk Radio. Let's give instructions for that, and then we're going to get our VIPs involved.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, if you have a question, please press *1 on your touch-tone telephone. If your question has been answered or you wish to remove yourself from the queue, please press the # key. Once again, if you have a question, please press *1 on your touch-tone telephone.
And for those of you who are on Blog Talk Radio, all you have to do is just press 1, and a screener will come on the line to get your name, city, and state. So on the phone with us also, Sharon, is Anita Jones-Cayenne. She's the president of the California Association of Real Estate Brokers, and also Monica Hill, who's the president of the Inland Empire chapter for NAREB. Thank you both for being VIPs, co-hosting with me today on The Power Is Now.
Thank you, Eric, for having me.
Not a problem. So I want to give you an opportunity, Anita, to ask the first question, and then we're going to go to some of our Blog Talk radios. Well, first of all, Anita, and then you, Monica. Then we'll go to our Blog Talk listeners.
Well, Eric, your questions have been so wonderful. I was sitting here taking notes, and a lot of what I wanted to ask you have actually asked, but I will ask one particular question, and that is, do you have the percentage of REOs that you either anticipate or presently are in existence, not only for California, but because that is the area that I handle, but also for the U.S.?
So the percentage of REOs that Freddie Mac has?
Yes.
I do. Hang on just a second. I have quite a few statistics here in front of me. I tried to grab as much as I could, and it may just take me a minute to get my hands on that. I apologize, Anita.
It's quite all right.
No.
And well, we can go on to Monica's question. I won't hold you just yet while you're looking for that, and you may be able to come back to
yeah,
it.
And actually, I know that we had numbers pulled from LPS, and I'm trying to remember now exactly. Oh, here, I got it. Sorry. Okay, so at the end of last year, at the end of 2010, we had about 7,200 properties in our inventory for REO. And I will say now that that's drastically down. But based on the latest statistics from LPS, there are 2.1 million REO properties in the country. So you can see the number that we have compared to the entire country is very small. And the 7,200 is for all the entire country. I didn't have pulled for individual states. But so our bucket, although it's large, when you look at it compared to 2.1 million for the entire country, we're not the largest. We're not the largest REO holder.
Okay. I will wait for my
and thank you for your question.
You're welcome.
Monica.
Hi, Sharon. It's me again, Monica.
Hi.
I've got two questions, but
Sure.
they should be easy to answer. The first one is, you said that there's no REO experience necessary because of the training. But what type of experience are you looking for in an agent?
Well, can you expand on that a little bit? What do you mean as far as the experience? As far as
are you looking for a certain amount of years experience as a real estate professional? Are you looking for a certain amount of closings?
Okay, no, that's good. Okay. Yeah, no. So, we ask in our interview process, do you work with other corporate sellers? How many other corporate sellers? What do your volume look like? We don't typically ask about closings that you have. I would say, for someone newly in the real estate market, new to being a listing agent, that they may not want to step directly off into the REO pool. But we don't specifically have a requirement that, you need to be a listing agent for X number of years.
Okay.
But, like I said, we interview multiple people. So, we try to interview, between 3 and 5 for every 1 or 2 that's added. And, in doing so, we're looking at you compared to the other agent that we interviewed. So if one has, all things being similar or somewhat equal, if we have 2 agents and one has more experience than the other, then, we might lean more that way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It's very
okay, great.
helpful.
Thank you.
And the second question is, you mentioned 2 trainings that you will be having in May, one in Los Angeles and one in Las Vegas. Where can we get additional information on how to attend those trainings?
Yeah, so the National Association of Realtors sent out a flyer for the first session. Hang on, let me see if I can get my hands on it real quick.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I hate to interrupt, but as a matter of fact, that information just went out, Monica, in the NAREB's president's message.
Exactly.
Today.
I talked to Ron Cooper yesterday, and actually he offered to get it out to the world.
Wonderful. I'll make sure that I get that out to my chapter as well.
And I will say, although I don't want to flood my team's mailbox more than it probably is already being flooded, but if by chance you haven't gotten the email or you don't know how to get information on it, you're certainly welcome to send an email to the email that was on the flyer, supplier_services@FreddieMac.com, and just ask them where the sessions are. And the flyer for California has not been completed yet. The flyer for Las Vegas has been, so we could send that on to you.
Wonderful.
Now, Eric, this is Anita again. Can I ask one more question after we'll be done?
Anita, you're the president.
Thank you. In Northern California, I know that there are quite a few REOs also, and I would like to reach out to you to come to Northern California and put on something very much like this. I did send a proposal to you through your regional manager, but I'd really like for you to speak with you about doing something like that with in Northern California also.
Okay. Yeah, we actually we do have a fairly large volume in Northern. Actually, if I was an asset manager back in the 90s, and I'm not going to go into my whole history of that, but I will just say that in Southern California was far busier than Northern California was, and now I really think it's kind of the flip. I think we have a lot more going on in Northern California than we do in Southern California. And for those of you in Southern California, don't worry, it's coming back your way, but it's just not there right now. But yes, Anita, I would love to talk with you about that.
Thank you.
Sharon,
Well,
can I call you about that after the program is over?
Sure.
Okay,
Mr. Frazier?
Thank you.
Yeah, so Henry.
No, this is Mark also.
Oh, hello, Mark. Thanks for joining us today.
I don't want to interrupt, but someone called me and told me to hurry up and get on the call.
Well, Mark Austin is the president of the LA chapter, Consolidated Board of Realtors, Sharon. And Mark, being the VIP you are, go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, sir. Sharon, thank you. It was a lot of really good information. But I have a question with regard to Freddie Mac And I understand there's some proposed changes. You said the underwriting criteria, but I understand the down payment criterion, the increased loan level price adjustments. It's going to be a little more expensive and take a little more money to buy. Is there anything that Freddie Mac has in place? I have two questions, actually. Anything that Freddie Mac has in place to help move its inventory with the increased requirements?
To move the REO inventory?
Yes. Yeah, well, to help, I mean, obviously most REOs, especially with the two-thirds owner occupancy, are financed. I'm hearing that Freddie and Fannie are going to 10% down. That's what I'm hearing. I'm also hearing the loan level price adjustments. The cost of financing is going to be up along with the underwriting criteria being tightened. And I'm concerned that that's going to cause a drop in prices based on property sitting on the market longer.
Right.
Has anybody addressed that?
You know what, Mark? I'm sure that they are, but I'll just be honest with you. I'm probably not the best person to speak to that because that's more from our sales side of the team. But I would be glad to facilitate a discussion to further answer your questions on that with the appropriate parties, but I really don't think that's me.
Mark, that sounds like a third show. The second one would be with Patty Donovan and Sharon, and the next one would be talking about underwriting criteria and what's happening with Freddie Mac. So great question.
Okay.
Question number two.
Question.
Okay.
That your two-thirds owner occupancy, I think that's fantastic. And what I think I've noticed with Freddie Mac properties is that there's an effort by Freddie Mac to bring them to marketable standards as opposed to selling as is. Is that a policy with Freddie Mac that there's work done, maybe update kitchens, replace carpet and flooring, and is that a broker responsibility in terms of cost?
Mark, that's a great question. Not that the others haven't been, but that one to me because I do believe that our policies around the condition and the maintenance of properties does speak, in fact, to the high number of owner-occupant purchases that we have. As far as repairing the properties, when we get values in and the marketing strategy is established, they certainly look at what type of financing might be available, if any, on this property, and what can we do. If there's something that we can do to help it a little bit, push it over, it's not financeable to now it may be financeable, we would certainly look at that. And in instances where we do repairs on the properties, those are done in conjunction with the listing broker network. In some areas we have general contractors that actually perform the work, and others will work through our real estate listing broker network in order to be, connected with people that can give us bids and actually do the work. But I'm glad you asked that.
Thank you. That's a great answer.
Well, it was a great question, and I really appreciate my VIPs on the line here today to assist me in co-hosting this call. To be a VIP on The Power Is Now, it's by invitation only. So I really appreciate Mark and Anita and Monica joining us today. Before we go to some of our callers who are waiting, I just want to see if there's any issue with Freddie Mac in regard to credit. You mentioned earlier about assets, needing to have the money in reserves to manage each property, about $2,000. A lot of real estate professionals have been impacted over the last couple of years by what's happening in the industry, and they are, they've been victims themselves of foreclosures or short sales or just a significant decrease in income, and their credit has been impacted. What's Freddie Mac's position on that?
So actually, we don't run credit on our listing brokers. We don't ask about the availability of the funds. We advise that you should expect to outlay approximately $2,000 per property, and we ask, would that be an issue for you? How you do that, whether you have a line of credit, you have funds in the bank, you have a rich uncle, that's your business. So we don't really go there on that, other than to we do want to make the listing broker aware, again, not to set false expectations or to set someone up for failure. We certainly don't want to get in a situation where we have assigned 4 or 5 properties to an agent and they're calling telling us they can't pay the electricity bill. That's a problem for both of us, and luckily one we don't have very often. But so I hope that answered.
It does, and I love it how you say, we just don't go there with your Southern accent. So it sounds great. Now, Jay Steves is in Massachusetts. Actually, he's in Connecticut, and he mentioned that you don't really discuss Northeast at all. Connecticut seems to have stopped. There's nothing really happening as far as REOs there. What do you see in that area in Connecticut?
So our volume of REOs in Connecticut is very small. We don't have a lot of properties there, and I don't know if it's because we didn't purchase a lot of loans in Connecticut or don't purchase a lot of loans in Connecticut, or just that the issues that are faced by many other areas are not as strong in Connecticut. But
I see.
We just don't have a lot of REO volume there. I don't have the specific number of what we have in that state, available to me here, but I know that it's very small. I've heard from probably 2 or 3 people recently in Connecticut asking the same question. So I guess I'm wondering, if they're seeing something maybe that we're not. Maybe there's more properties sitting out there that are in default that, maybe we don't know about yet.
I see. Okay. And then we've got Saul in Chicago, and you mentioned earlier that there is a need in Chicago right now. He says, I'm a broker. I'm ready to go. What do I need to do?
So, Saul, let's talk. How about if you could send an email to our supplier services mailbox, and I would share information about who you are, what your market area is, and let them know that you were on the call today and that you're responding to our needs. So someone will get back to you one way or the other. Actually, anyone that sends an email to that mailbox should expect always to receive a response back from a live human being. We have people my team actually manages that mailbox on a daily basis. And if you send an inquiry, a question, whether it be big or small, someone will reply back to you. May not always be what you want to hear, but you'll have a response back.
Now, can we say that, anyone listening to the Powers Now teleconference today automatically gets a Freddie Mac account?
Well, Eric, no.
Okay, well, I had to ask, right?
I know. That would be great if we could do that, but that's just not possible.
Now, what about, outsourcers? Freddie Mac does outsource some of their assets to, I know VRM is one outsourcer. How does that work with, working through outsourcers and managing Freddie Mac properties? Actually,
and this will come as a surprise to some, but all of our properties are handled by outsourcing companies. And actually, it's quite a compliment to us that most people don't realize that, because our relationship with VRM is so strong. And actually, they were here in our office for so long. We built a very strong relationship and had great communication. And so it's a compliment that to the outside world, we look like the same company. We're not. We actually have 3 outsourcing companies. VRM was just recently joined by Atlas and also Green River, and so now we have 3 outsourcing companies that handle the sales and disposition of our REO properties. However, I will add that they are actually using Freddie Mac's listing broker network, which is a little bit different for some of them compared to the models that they've worked with before. But when they receive the assignment through Homesteps Connect, our system, a listing broker is already assigned to the property. So they're not using their networks, they're actually using our network, but it's being assigned at Freddie Mac.
Well, that's interesting, and I think that I am surprised. All of your properties are outsourced. I'm not sure. Did any of our VIPs know this?
No, I didn't know that all of
Wow.
them were outsourced.
Wow.
I knew
I
that
absolutely
some
knew
were.
that.
Yay, Mark.
Absolutely knew that all your properties, and BRM was your exclusive outsourcer for quite a while, wasn't it?
Exactly.
You just added the other two. That's Keith Murray. Great guy, great company.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Well, Keith Murray, in fact, not Keith, but, the name escapes me, but VRM has been on the Powers Now
Cheryl
teleconference.
Crawford, I think, was on
Cheryl, that's right, Cheryl Crawford. Did you listen to that show?
I didn't.
Oh, okay. All right.
I didn't get the flyer, Keith.
Well,
can I ask another question?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering, what was the tracking mechanism that you were using in regards to the radius issue for your listing brokers?
Oh, that's really good. Who was laughing? Is that you, Mark?
That's Mark, because I want to add to that when you finish.
Okay, cool. Maybe I should just let you answer this for me.
No, I wasn't going to answer it. What I was going to add to it, we worked an initiative in L.A., and we dealt with the radius and making sure the radius was small enough to be inclusive for inner-city brokers. Well, a year later, there's some good and bad to that. What it does is if you're an inner-city broker with a lower price point for all of your properties, it's restrictive to your income, and that's all you see.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're another area, then your price point's higher, your income's higher, and it becomes disparate in terms of income. So it's a tough nail. It's a tough job to tackle there to make it somewhat equal and still have a representation with properties and areas that you understand.
Exactly. And it's a difficult thing to sort out on a daily basis. But to answer your question, we actually use the internet. We take the address of the office, and that's another difference for Freddie and some other corporate sellers is that we require our listing brokers to actually have a storefront office. So no working, no home office type situation. You are actually required to have an office where people can come in and write contracts. They can come in and inquire about properties. So anyway, we take the property address, and then we use the internet. We have a couple of different tools that we use, but we put in the zip code, and it gives us like a 10 or 15 or whatever the radius is we're looking at. And Mark, to your point, there are times that we when we look at that, we sometimes do have to bump it out some. And so I'm glad you brought that up, and it reminded me to tell people that because there are always circumstances where we have people that step outside of that 10 to 15 mile radius. And, it's a business decision based on, what's happening in the market. If we're only going to get one or two that are outside of that area, but they're close enough to still be manageable, we're not going to bring on one person to handle one or two properties if the other person is willing to step a little bit further for us. And our expectations are the same. We don't reduce any of our expectations. If you're going to travel 30 miles instead of 10 miles, you still have to do your weekly property inspection. We still expect the same level of commitment and work that we do if the property is closer to you.
This is Anita again. I am in the Stockton area, and I know that I see a little something different, and I guess I can expound on that with you later, but I definitely see something different.
Well, this certainly is an important issue, and perhaps, again, that's show number 4. So I'm just getting my schedule set up for 2012.
Yes.
All right, great.
So, I'm going to get in big trouble with all these callers because I haven't taken a single question. Operator, do we have any questions on your line?
Yes, sir. Our first question comes from Anjum Chauhan from Mutual Realty. Your question, please.
Yes, hi, Sharon. How are you doing today?
Good.
Good. I'm in Chicago, so just wanted to ask you a question about, we talked about diversity earlier in the call. On the diversity side, is there any, certifications you look on the diversity side National Minority Development Council, the SBA certifications. Is there any kind of preference given to that? I know you said there was no set-asides or anything, but just want to talk about the certifications.
Right. So, no, thank you for that. So I would say, especially since you're in Chicago, yes, please reach out to our supplier services mailbox.
Yeah.
And when you provide your market area, I would encourage you to provide any certifications that you have. As I mentioned, we're as far as designations too, we're not looking for anything specific. If you tell us that you're a specific classification, say if you tell us when we go through our list of questions that you're an African American, we're not asking anyone to certify anything to us. If you say you are, that's what you are. Now, if we find out later that you're not who you represented yourself to be, then we will address that at that point in time. But we don't, at this point, are not requiring anybody to certify that they are who they say they are.
Thank you. Thanks for the answer.
Great question. Great question. Now, I want to take a question from Blog Talk Radio. We have Tina Lee from the Century 21 Masters in Walnut, and let's see if we can unmute her line. Tina, are you there? Tina, are you there? Okay, let's go to Demarius in San Marino, California, from Real Estate Heaven. Demarius, are you there? So we may have lost a few callers because we've taken so long to get to the questions. Let's go to the next one here. We have Cindy Mason, realty executives out of, I think that's Santa Clara. Let's see here. Cindy, are you there? Operator, do you have any questions on your line?
No, sir, I do not. I don't have anybody else.
Okay. Rochelle Jones out of Houston, Texas is on the line. And let's see. Rochelle, are you there?
Hi, Aaron. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Great.
Okay, great. Because I think just in fairness to the other callers, we could hear some of the people saying, I'm here, but you couldn't hear them. So hopefully they'll be able to email you their question, and maybe you can get it to Sharon and get the answers out since it's been such a great call.
Okay, no problem. I am sorry for the technical difficulties. I will go back to you and see if I can get you on the line after Rochelle's call, those of you who did respond and I didn't hear. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, Rochelle.
Sure. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate your coordination of this call and the calls that you do weekly. You're such an asset to our business as field representatives, and it's been great. Sharon, I thank you for your time as well, and congratulate you in your new role. I'm sure you're going to be a rock star in it, just as you were in your last role.
Thank you.
My question is in regards to the application holding process. If you've been in the pipeline or you've had some type of connection or interaction with the Freddie Mac official, how long is that information kept on file, and what would you recommend in regards to reapplying to make sure that it stays fresh and a reminder that that person is available, willing, and anxious to work with Freddie Mac?
So, Rochelle, thank you, and thank you for your lovely comment too. I appreciate that. And as far as the application, I believe that you're referring to the live interviews that we did last year, and because we don't really have an application, and that was really not an application either. It was actually just a questionnaire so that we could gain some information about you. But to get down to just the specifics of your question, we actually retain that information on a spreadsheet indefinitely. So although we have not retained all of the specifics that were provided when we initially did the interviews, if they weren't selected at that time, we have retained all of the contact information and all of the market area information. So we pretty much assume if you've expressed an interest in the past that you're still interested. And, if there's a need and we reach out and we find out that you're not, then we would just go on to the next person. So there's really not a need to follow up. I know as salespeople, that's what you do. You follow up on your leads, but for us, it's not necessary. We do retain the information, and we'll reach out if there is a need to do so. Does that help?
Great. And it does. Thank you. I appreciate that. And in the future, will there be somewhere on the Freddie Mac website, like as your need expands or maybe it changes, will there be a spot where someone can go and look and say, great, there's a need in my market. I want to go ahead and, make sure that I've submitted whatever information is available?
Yeah, Rochelle, that's another great question. And actually, at the Homesteps.com website, we actually already provide a list of areas in which we're looking for listing brokers. But as I mentioned earlier, that changes on a daily basis. And so the list that I went over this morning is probably not the list that's out there right now. We don't have the ability to update it every single day. So, but that would be another good source to check. We're also working on some future enhancements to that, and so hopefully you'll hear something later about that in the year.
Great. Thank you, and thank you so much for the valuable information on the call today.
Sure, you're welcome. It was great to hear from you.
Thank you, Rochelle. And Rochelle has been with the Powers Now almost from the beginning, and we appreciate your support in getting the word out to folks out there in Texas.
Actually, Rochelle and I think, are connected on LinkedIn.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
We are.
And I do link, so anyone that's still on the call, I am on LinkedIn, and if you want to link with me, just send me a request. And I'm not real timely about accepting, but I love to connect with the community and the real estate professionals that are out there. So another great way for us to keep in touch with each other.
Absolutely. So I'm going to try to get some more callers on the line. We have quite a few questions, but we are experiencing some technical difficulties. We're going to go all the way down to South Carolina. South Carolina, there's Gigi Gillespie on the phone, and let's see if we can get her on the line here. Gigi?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi.
Great. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I heard you lost a few calls there that were really on, so I heard them too.
We'll be coming back to them.
Well, okay, good. Hey, hi, Sharon.
Hi, Gigi.
Thank you for your time. And thanks so much for your time. My question is, if my broker is Freddie Mac approved, how do I get on with? Do I go through him or you, or how does that work?
Right. So, again, our relationship is with the broker owner, and it's up to them to decide who handles the business. So I would say, if you're interested, that you should talk with your broker and express your interest. Let him know, that you would like to, participate and have part of the business. But that's ultimately up to the broker.
Okay. Also, I was wondering, I do Fannie Mae. And I don't think I've done any Freddie Mac, but you said they were kind of tied together?
No, we're not. No.
Oh.
Two separate companies. Oh. Their REOs are handled completely separate from ours. No, I think maybe what you were picking up on when I was talking about our efforts in loss mitigation to kind of bring some consistency to the process for both GSEs.
Okay, gotcha.
But REO is completely separate.
Well, thanks so much.
Thank you, Gigi.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Gigi. Love the name, Gigi. So we have Rhonda Schultz out of Texas with Schultz Realty Group. Let's see if we can get her on the line. Rhonda, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Great. Thanks for being on the Powers Now.
Thank you, Eric. Nice to hear your voice. I enjoy your show as well. Hey, Sharon, how you feeling?
Hey, Rhonda, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Having fun today, right?
Good conference.
My question is not gonna rock your socks. It's pretty basic, and you may have even covered it. I didn't get the call early. I was out. But my question is about does Freddie Mac look for a particular number of agents in a broker's office to meet any guidelines or needs that they have?
Yeah. So
great question.
That does come into play, Rhonda, when we're looking at our need for that specific area. So, there's some areas where we know that we're going to have a lot of volume. And if we're bringing someone on, we need to bring someone on that can handle the potential volume. So say it's someone that we know that we're going to need to grow fairly quickly. If they didn't have the office staff to support, not just agent-wise, but even, someone to help with property inspections. Because a lot of companies, they have an individual, and that's what they do. They do their property inspections. So someone to help with that. You've got office support, someone to answer your phones. So, we're looking at the whole picture when we're kind of making that decision as to, who to bring on and how many we might need to bring on.
Okay, so it's kind of a big picture as far as assistant staff and as well as agents who are able to go out and move those properties on those leads that come from the calls and so forth on those properties as well.
Exactly.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rhonda, for being on the call today. We're going to go now to Massachusetts, Mohammed, and hopefully we can get Mohammed on the line. Mohammed, are you there?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
great.
Hello, I'm here, and I was waiting for my turn.
Okay.
Enjoying the conference call too much. This is my first time listening to you live. I'm a force member and in the REO business for about 6+ years.
Mm-hmm.
And try to get with the Freddie Mac. So far, no luck. I'm a broker of the Record, and it's a minority-owned business. So I was hoping that this will give me some sort of insight about how to get into the Freddie Mac leads.
So, Mohammed, thank you first for being patient and being patient waiting on the phone. And then I'm going to thank you for future patience in joining the network, because Massachusetts is not one of the areas that we're currently looking for assistance in. So the network that we have now is able to handle the volume that we have. So until we have a business need to add, our policy just doesn't allow us to do so.
I see. Well,
have you already sent an email to our team to express an interest?
Certainly. It was done about 2.5 years ago, and I'm still waiting.
Yeah, so, expressing an interest in being interviewed, sometimes there are many years in between there. And sometimes the opportunity doesn't come, I'll just be honest. But because it's driven by, the number of properties that we have in any given area. So I'm not sure exactly where in Massachusetts you are, but evidently you're in an area that we have performing listing brokers in and don't have a need to add to at this time. But I would also encourage.
Quite honestly,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, too. Oh, okay.
We'll let Sharon go, and then you go. Go ahead, Sharon.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, so we also have a selling agent program, if you will. It's called Homebase. And it replaced a program that we had called Selling Agent Select, and we kicked off Homebase earlier this year. You can find out information about it at our homesteps.com website. And it's a kind of a repository, if you will, another source for us to use when we're looking for agents.
Okay, I'm already registered at Homebase. I'm already registered at Homesteps, and I cover Massachusetts as well as Rhode Island. So these two states are badly hit by this economic turmoil, and there are tons of REO, Freddie Mac, and Fannie Mae properties in this area. It's not that, and I'm doing this service for Wells Fargo. With the GMAC too at the same time. So I do get some business from those two sources, but always looking forward to expand the horizon and get into new leads. I have a pool of 13 brokers working with me. I'm not a sole person here, so I have a good resource, and we do inspections. It's a diverse field, a diverse group of people here.
So, Mohammed, sounds like you are really qualified and got a lot of things happening. So I know, Sharon, you'll look into Massachusetts again, perhaps, and make sure there's no opportunity for business for some of the, great experienced brokers out in Massachusetts. Thanks for the call, Mohammed, and continue to listen in each week on The Power Is Now. I want to go now to Detroit, and Detroit has been hard hit. And actually, did I lose Detroit? I lost Detroit. So we're going to go to Dallas, Texas. Susan, Dallas, Texas. Susan, are you on the phone?
Yeah, I am. Hey,
Okay.
Sharon, Susan Sala with the REO Authority. Great to hear you on this call. You give us such great information.
Thank you.
I've been hearing some rumors, around the Metroplex that the bigger the agencies that I'm an associate broker with my agency, that you guys are really looking more at more smaller agencies to be giving the listings to. Is that correct, or is that just a big rumor, or is there any truth to that?
You know what, Susan? That's one of those big fat rumors.
Okay, because I was like,
it's just wonderful how the rumor mill works.
I tell you what, you live here. I can't wait to see you at Expo because I'll probably have something new to tell you.
That's this industry is it is so tight, and that so often leads to someone's thought or suggestion becoming everyone else's reality. But no, in Dallas, we not looking for just small or big. Actually, other than like north of McKinney, we don't really even need any help in Dallas-Fort Worth right now.
Right. I understand
but thank you for your
well.
question.
Yeah, that's my question. Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Susan. And, we can make The Powers Now the official killer of rumors for the real estate industry.
Well, I need to do that because I'll tell you what, it's, I'm like, do I need to go get a broker shop up? I've thought about going on my own, but I'm like, okay, do I really want all that responsibility? But, maybe you have to sometimes. Who knows? But I appreciate it, guys.
Not a problem. Next up we have, let's see here, Arizona. I thought I had Arizona. I have so many calls. I'm trying to be fair, move around from state to state. Let's see here. Vic, are you there from Lake Forest? Vic, let me put your call off mute here. Are you there, Vic?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Your question, sir.
Well, no, I didn't. All my questions were answered in this great presentation. So thanks, Sharon, and thank you for all the information.
Thank you, Vic.
All right.
Okay.
Operator, do we have any questions on your line?
Yes, we do, sir. We have a question from Deanna Garcia. Your question, please.
Hello?
Hi, Deanna.
Oh, hi, Sharon. Thank you so much for this webinar. It's great information. I'm an REO broker in South Monterey County. I was an agent for the last 5 years with another broker, and now on my own. And I have recently completed the WINS, the conference that Freddie Mac had with the Credit Smart in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
And I am currently doing those and trying to actively train agents that are working for me here. And I'm going to be registering actually today, now after this conference. I have a little bit more confidence. And I'm kind of on a suburb of Salinas in southern Monterey County. And I do see that there is an opportunity in this suburb. We've been hit pretty hard in Soledad, Greenfield, King City, and I'm just wanting to register, and I'm just wondering if you could give me any insight as far as what you're looking for, if in fact you are looking for any agents in this area over here.
So, Deanna, thank you. At this time, we're not looking in Monterey County. I think we were earlier this year, and we brought on I want to say we brought on a company to handle some of our volume there. I would say if you haven't already signed up for Homebase, that would be a good thing to do. And then also send an email to the supplier services team. You know, one of the other great things about Homebase is each week you'll be emailed a list of properties that are available in the zip codes that you give us as your market area. And, you know, we look to agents that also, you know, work to sell our properties. So as you sell our properties, you become more familiar with our requirements, with our contracts. So it's another good source for us to use when we are looking in a specific area. So I'm sorry we're not looking in your area right now, but, you know, as I said, things change every day.
Right, yeah. Myself and several of my agents, we do sell several of the Freddie Mac properties, so we are very familiar with the procedures. And I have been an REO agent for the last 5 years, so I am familiar. So just keep me in mind.
Great, thank you.
I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and our next question, last question, comes from Aleem Bilwani. Your question, please.
Aleem.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Great. Thanks for being on the call today.
Thank you. Hi, Sharon. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I have been trying to look for you, but I haven't met with you, but I have keep sending you emails over a year ago.
Oh, goodness.
Be nice, Aleem.
I'm always nice. When do you think you guys will start doing your own financings? I mean, carry your own paper?
You know, that's a good question. We had talked about doing that earlier in the year, and I think for now it's been put back on the back burner again. So I could say it's not in the immediate future. And it's actually not something we're even pursuing right now to finance our own REOs. You know, we did in the past, years ago.
I know that.
Yeah, but we're not working towards that right now.
So there is no future in that because, you know, as you probably may have remember, I have sent you some emails regarding that because I have a community that they will prefer to have a, you know, own lender financing.
And yes, I do. Your name is familiar to me.
Yeah.
So, but you know what we found when we started looking at it, we didn't really have enough volume to warrant going to bringing on our own type of financing. The majority of our properties, you know, that are financed, they don't need our financing, with the exception of condos. You know, we have some circumstances with condo issues, but yeah, so there are no plans at this point in time to add any Freddie Mac financing for the REO properties.
We can start with condos and move forward to bring the need.
Yeah, honestly, we have discussed it at great length, but I know that we will not be pursuing that this year.
Okay, I appreciate your help.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aleem, for your call today. Folks, we are coming up to the end of the program. I've got 12 minutes to go before Blog Talk Radio will go off the air. Operator, do we have any other calls on the line?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, great. So I'm going to take 2 more calls. Please make your questions very brief, and then we're going to share some very important announcements and end the show. So the first one is going to come from Jim with RE/MAX in Michigan. And, Jim, I'm going to take you off mute here. Are you there, Jim?
Hi, how you doing?
Great. Thanks for being on the call today.
Good. I'm calling because I've been listening to this telecast, and they keep mentioning about a website you can register on, but I've never heard or the website name, so you could write it down.
Okay, yeah. So it's homesteps.com, www.homesteps.com. And if you'll follow the link for real estate professionals, it will take you to a page, and on the right-hand side of that page, you'll see a box that has enrollment for the Homebase program, and it will tell you a little bit about what the program is. And there's a disclaimer that signing up for Homebase is not an automatic end to become a listing broker, but it will give, there are other benefits attached to doing it, and again, it's a source for us. So it's through homesteps.com.
Okay, that sounds very, very good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Tim.
Okay, Tina Lee. We're going to try Tina again out of California, Walnut, with Century 21 Masters. Tina, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Your question, please. Looks like we have lost Tina. Tina, are you there? Okay, we're going to go now to Demarius out of San Marino, California. He was the last person we tried. Demarius, are you there? Okay. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties with some of the lines. We apologize for that. But we are running out of time. 9 minutes to go before Blog Talk Radio ends. I want to thank Sharon for spending all this time with us. And, Sharon, so far in this discussion, I've come up with at least 8 other teleconferences. So I'm really looking forward to talking with you about that and getting rescheduled. If I could get my VIP callers to put their phones on mute as we wrap up this call. Actually, before you go, VIP callers, Anita, why don't you share with us what's happening with the regional conference that is coming up and some other local announcements, and then we will end this call with a final announcement about the Powers Now.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Eric. Again, my name is Anita Jones-Cayenne. I'm president of KRAB. There are 12 local boards under KRAB, California Association of Real Estate Brokers. We are looking forward to having our legislative day on May 18th, in which we will be visiting the legislators of the state of California, the assembly persons, and the senators. We ask that any and all of you come out and visit or work with us to participate in this. We will be talking to them about specific real estate issues. If you are in real estate, you are in politics. You might as well get used to that idea right now. Then we are also having a dinner that evening in which we will be having, we hope to have some of those legislators attend our dinner and be able to have some one-on-one with them. We are also having a regional conference the following day. So this is going on from the 18th of May until the 20th of May. Our national regional conference, Region 15, which includes the state of California, the state of Washington, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, and our local boards will be coming, local boards of all of those states will be coming to the regional conference, and that will, we hope to have, not hope, but we will have a REO forum there. We will be having wonderful educational classes along that help you promote your business or get your business started, because REOs are not just, everybody's not going to be able to get an REO. So there are other methods of doing business. No offense, Sharon. But there are other methods of doing business, and we really want to help our members to achieve that goal. So please come out, join us from the 18th to the 20th for the California Legislative Day, KRAB's Legislative Day, and the Region 15 conference. And if you, for more information, you can go to our website, krab.org, and you will be able to register for the event. And early registration ends today, as a matter of fact, which would cover for the registration of the conference and tickets for the event for the dinner on the 18th.
Well, it's going to be a fantastic regional conference. The Powers Now is going to be conducting our teleconference live at the regional conference, and so we'll have a live audience for the first time. I'm really excited about that. So please go to the website, get more information about the upcoming conference. Mark and Monica, do you have any particular announcements? If you can keep it really brief, I've got 5 minutes to wrap this up.
No, Eric, I just want to thank Sharon for being on today, and I think it would be really great to see her at the regional conference, don't you?
It would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think that would would be wonderful. Maybe I'll have to talk to her about that.
We can grab her offline in the sub-conference.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How about you, Mark?
Eric, thank you. No announcements. Karen, thank you. And in terms of Freddie Mac, they've really done a good job in our minority community and providing an opportunity. We see a real improvement, not just improvement, but over time, you've been good to our community.
Right. Absolutely. Well, folks, I want to encourage you to go to our national website, nareb.com. Check out the local website here in Orange County, ocareb.org. We just completed our first Credit Smart money management program. It was at Second Baptist Church in Santa Ana on just the other day, in fact. Just the other day, we had our first Credit Smart rollout, and we're working with churches and community centers to roll out Credit Smart, and that's a Freddie Mac program. We also will have a broker training program hosted by Pam, one of the regional managers with Freddie Mac, coming up in July. So go to the website. I'm not sure if the information is there yet, but definitely put us in your favorites so that you can stay on top of what's going on with the Orange County Association of Real Estate Brokers. And then finally, I want to invite you to a general board meeting, which is happening tomorrow. So if you're in Orange County and you've got between 10:30 and 12:30 available, come by to National University from 10:30 to 12:30 and find out what we are up to, because we're up to big things in Orange County, and I really encourage you to get involved with NAREB, the Orange County chapter of the association, Orange County Association of Real Estate Brokers. And then finally, please share The Power Is Now with your friends. Send it out. Go to our Facebook. It's actually the website, thepowerisnow.com. And like on it and share it with all your friends. Every week we're bringing industry leaders to talk about opportunities. We're bringing incredible trainers to talk about strategies and sales. In fact, next week, Michael Hellickson will be on the phone talking about 31 strategies for generating and converting leads like a madman. This guy has a crazy record of production and volume. Like you can't even imagine it. And I invite you to be on the phone next week, next Thursday, same time, and to listen to Michael talk about the 31 strategies for generating and converting leads like a madman. And then the following 2 weeks, Wells Fargo will be in the house talking about FHA, VA, reverse mortgages, great programs to help you grow your business. Well, folks, this is a wrap of the Power Is Now teleconference. Another opportunity for you to expand your business, to gain more knowledge. We really appreciate each and every one of you jumping on the call each week, taking time out of the middle of the day, especially for those of you who are calling out of state, all over the country. I really appreciate your support. Anything we can do to help you continue to grow your business, please drop me an email at eric.frazier@thepowerisnow.com. We look forward to seeing you next week. So remember what the Power Is Now is all about. We are at our best, and we maximize our success when we act now. Thank you for joining the call. See you next week at The Power Is Now.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating in today's teleconference. This concludes the program. You may now disconnect.